Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating concept. Pillar 9, Faith and Spiritual. We'll be exploring Dr. Mike Ting's incredibly unique methodology for rescuing distressed businesses. And specifically, we're going to zero in on the hidden driver of recovery, the actual inner state of the leader. Here's a quick roadmap of where we're headed. We'll kick things off with diagnosing the company, move into the 3 phases of recovery, explore the dual-track system, deep dive into Pillar 9, Faith and Spiritual, and finally, look at the synergy of both tracks. Let's get to it. Section 1. Diagnosing the Company, the mathematical reality. We absolutely have to start with the brutal, secular reality of a corporate crisis. Why? Because you simply cannot fix what you haven't accurately diagnosed. A business in distress presents clear, undeniable clinical symptoms. You've got unmanaged costs, literally bleeding cash, profit margins that are eroding away, and a severe depletion of trust among both staff and creditors. And we measure this insolvency risk objectively using the Altman Z-score. It's like taking a patient's pulse. A doctor wouldn't chat about a long-term diet plan with a patient who is actively hemorrhaging, right? In business, we have to address these critical vital signs first. Section 2. 3 phases of recovery, the medical treatment. Dr. Tang's treatment protocol relies heavily on a brilliant medical metaphor. Think of the company's cash flow as the bloodstream and its daily operations as the muscles needing immediate life-saving intervention. When a business is on the brink of failure, it is not just a spreadsheet problem, it is a full-blown organizational heart attack, and it requires an emergency room level of response. Because of that urgency, recovery has to happen in 3 strictly sequential phases. Step 1 is surgery. You have to make the hard cuts, restructure, and stop the bleeding to improve cash flow. Step 2 is resuscitation. This is where you revitalize the top and bottom lines to actually bring profitability back from the dead. Finally, step 3 is therapy or nursing. This is rehabilitating a healthy, innovative corporate culture. And honestly, a lot of turnarounds fail simply because the leader doesn't adapt their style for phase 3. They get permanently stuck in crisis mode when what the company desperately needs is healing and growth. Section 3. The dual-track system. Addressing the hidden variable. So, why do scientifically perfect, mathematically sound restructurings still crash and burn? Well, because turnarounds are executed by humans, and humans crack under immense pressure. That's why Dr. Tang built this dual-track system. It pairs hard science with optional psychological stabilization. On one side, you have the non-faith, secular track, strictly professional, operational protocols based purely on management science. But on the other side, you have the faith-driven track. This provides the exact same rigorous protocols, but it supplements them with biblical principles and tailored prayers specifically designed to stabilize an executive's psychology when the heat is turned way up. Now, this entire methodology operates on a very strict governing rule: spiritual perspectives, secular impacts. It treats faith as an independent resource for executives who are seeking inner strength. But, and this is crucial, it's an invitation, not an imposition. It is entirely optional. The secular track is totally complete on its own, serving leaders of all faiths or no faith at all. But this brings up a really fascinating question. If a leader leans into their faith and chooses that second track, does it somehow soften the harsh mathematical reality of their failing business? Does praying change the math? The answer is a hard no. The absolute, unbending rule of this platform is that the methodology never bends. The math doesn't care. Scripture might accompany the clinical analysis, but no amount of prayer exempts a company from the brutal mathematics of insolvency. On both tracks, you get the exact same Altman Z-scores, the exact same painful amputation lists, and the exact same restructuring roadmap. Faith supplements the strategy by keeping the leader resilient, but it never, ever replaces clinical execution. Section 4. Pillar 9. Faith and Spiritual. The inner turnaround. This brings us to the real heart of today's explainer, the piece of the framework that deals exclusively with what's happening inside the leader. Dr. Tang outlines 8 clinical pillars of corporate health, like financial health and operational excellence. But you have to think of Pillar 9 as the invisible organ system. It doesn't have vital signs you can slap on a balance sheet. Instead, it is the underlying current of conviction and integrity that powers all the other 8 pillars. It's the inner turnaround of the leader who actually has to make these gut-wrenching calls. Think about it this way. Trust between people is the oxygen of any turnaround. If it disappears, the company dies within minutes. But that trust, it is entirely downstream of the private integrity maintained inside the leader when nobody's looking. Pillar 9 is what makes trust possible in the first place. You can announce a shiny new value statement, sure, but your organization will only believe it when they watch you tell the truth, especially when telling the truth is incredibly costly. And here is where it gets really innovative. If the faith option is chosen, the platform's AI diagnostician actually takes the hard, cold operational data and generates highly specific spiritual guidance from it. It's not generic stuff. It meets the leader exactly where the math says they are wounded. So, say a leader is facing massive retrenchment decisions, layoffs. The AI will provide targeted prayers and scriptures specifically geared toward making those painful cuts with integrity and compassion. It even offers audio playback, so a stressed out executive can process it while they commute. Section 5. The synergy of both tracks, holistic recovery. Let's pull this all together. How do the secular machinery and the spiritual anchor combine for a lasting recovery? It comes down to this formula, the ultimate takeaway. Recovery equals clinical execution multiplied by human acceptance multiplied by time. It's simple multiplication. If either your clinical execution, the hard math, or your human resilience, the psychological acceptance, drops to zero, well, anything multiplied by zero is zero. Your recovery fails. You desperately need the left side to survive the market. We're talking amputation lists, zero-based budgeting, ruthless cash forecasting. But you just as desperately need the right side, naming your fear, drawing on a higher purpose, practicing deep integrity, and honestly, just protecting your sleep. You need that to survive the immense psychological load of implementing the left side. The operational frameworks are the tools, yes, but a human being has to wake up, pick them up, and use them every single day. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. A perfectly crafted financial strategy is absolutely useless if the person executing it is collapsing under the weight of the crisis. When you look at your own organization or your own leadership, how are you fortifying your invisible ninth organ system today? Are you actually tending to the inner turnaround, or are you just staring at the math hoping it fixes itself?